Hey guys, Ken's 97 Stowe. I am back here at Rochester. Gonna head out to Delphi. So I thought I would show you guys the way over here. It's about an hour drive from here over to Delphi, and it's kind of back roads, and you go through a couple towns, and I don't think I've ever videoed that. I attempted this on Friday or Thursday or Friday, and the battery ran out at some point along the way and kind of ruined it. So we will attempt this again. Got to be careful through here. It's easy to miss a car or pedestrian walking around. So I'm in. So you like that. You look that way, and then you look that way, and there's nothing coming. And you look that way, and there's nothing coming. You look back and the other direction, and then suddenly there's a car that came around the corner. You got to be careful because of these big fat mirrors, especially that one. It's real easy for a car to hide behind that mirror if the car is at a certain distance. So you kind of, I'll show you when we get to a pole, especially if there's a pole or something right there, like when you're at a stop sign. You gotta be really careful. My truck's whistling again. We're at about 22 miles an hour. It sounds like when you blow in a like a bottle. Wind rushing past something, I don't know what. It's outside. Oh, you know, it could be the deer whistles. There are deer whistles out there. Now see, like right now, if I'm looking right there, that mirror is blocking that whole road. See? Right there. You can't see shit. You gotta go like that, or you gotta go like that, and try to catch it in the little window. Or you gotta move forward. Basically, you need to pull forward and look, lean backwards and look. You want to catch it coming, and then make sure that they oh fuck me. Make sure that there's nobody coming. So like right now, oh, and of course he's got his fucking turn signal on now. So I could have went. He put it on plenty early. I just, you know, inevitably that happens. And there's nothing coming that way. Nothing coming that way, and then you look again, and then you go. It's just the traffic is real sporadic through here. I mean, there's no traffic pattern to it, you know? So that the cars are always spread out and kind of random. I'll have the same problem at this light here. Oh, crack the neck. Oh, it didn't work. Since I'm second or third back here, I guarantee I'll be here for a little while, and I will reach back and get a drink. What do we got? Dr. Pepper. That'll work. I got a good price on got a good price on the soda machine in there's cheap. So when I didn't have anything to drink today. Well, I have water with me, but I wanted something else. See, like right now, you got to be careful because there's like right between them two poles. Again, that mirror is blocking. You can't see shit, so you got to lean back, catch the car coming. But if you happen to get to the intersection at just the wrong time, you don't see it. You can end up pulling out in front of somebody. Oh, motherfucker. Now we're gonna go this time. Look again. Go. Miss a gear. Well, it's always bad. I'm going from fully loaded to empty. The shifting gets harder because the inertia of the truck is different. The guy was going to pull out, and I would have stopped, but he didn't want to commit. So, there's a cool little scooter shop right up here. There's the gun connection, and it's called Triad Cycle. 574-847-7032, and he's kind of closing up right now. But he's always has a pretty good selection of little scooters. Most of them are 50s, 49cc, whatever. Indiana has pretty relaxed rules and regulations on scooters. If it's under 50 cc's, there's no license, there's no registration, there's no insurance required. And so in a small town, I mean, it's perfect. In a small town like this where, you know, you live over there and you work at the factory or whatever, that kind of thing is perfect. Even when it's a shitty day like today where it's a little bit wet, you got like a mile or 2 miles to go to your work, and you can drive around on something that's getting 100-something miles to the gallon, no insurance, no tags, no nothing. That is a no-brainer. And works really well in small towns like this. See a lot of that in Indiana. You get into a small town, you'll see scooters running all over the place. It's perfect. You know, even if it's wintertime, as long as it's just wet, you know, even if it's cold, you just, you know, put on a jacket, put on your helmet. A lot of them don't wear helmets, but, you know, bundle up, because, you know, you only got 2 miles to go. You're not going to freeze to death in a couple of miles, and, you know, the amount of money you'd save, car insurance, and, you know, I mean, it's a big deal, and it makes a lot of sense. The negative of it is that a lot of people, when they get a DUI, well, they lose their license. Well, you don't need a license to ride one of those things, or insurance, or anything else. So, you see a lot of guys that are DUIers running around, and I mean, I guess, you know, it's still, I guess that's a negative, but it's a positive, because, you know, if you got somebody that gets a DUI and you take away their car, I think that's appropriate. I'm not saying it isn't, but, you know, now the guy maybe can't get to work. He's got to go on welfare or something. You know, I mean, it does have other consequences that are negative to the town and to society in general. So, at least when he's on a scooter, you know, if he decides to drink and ride a scooter, and you know, he's probably more likely to kill himself than anybody else, and any damage that he might cause to a vehicle is probably minor. They're limited, I think, to 30 miles an hour. So, I mean, I guess you could hit a pedestrian, but even still, they only weigh 100 and something pounds. You know, they're pretty light, and of course, plus the person's weight. My wife has a little, it's a 150 scooter, but it's a 50cc size scooter with a bigger motor in it, and actually kind of fun to ride. I think I've posted some videos of riding that around, and it'll go about 50 miles an hour indicated with me on it. It's probably more like 47 or so, 45 or 47 miles an hour. Runs out of RPM. It's because it's a 50 size scooter. It's got little 10-inch wheels, and most 150s have 12 or 13-inch wheels. So because the tires are smaller, the gear ratio is shorter overall on it. So it actually runs out of RPM. I mean, right about 50 indicated, turning about 8,500 RPM, which is really more than it should. The positive of that is it's actually pretty quick. I mean, when you goose it off the line, it's reasonably quick. And And that's a good thing about that, is, you know, you don't have any troubles around town. It's pretty quick. So, and it's cool, you know. I like motorcycles, but for scooters, kind of cool too. Sometimes if I'm a little tired and I don't really feel like dealing with shifting or whatever, you know, I'll hop on the scoot, go for a. I've got a little route that I take that keeps me out of the way of fast-moving traffic, and I think averages about 75 miles to the gallon, even with my fat ass on it, running pretty much full throttle the whole time. So, kind of hard to beat. We picked it up from a wholesaler. Lives in he's in Milan, Indiana. It's called Dirt Cheap ATVs. It's also called Fraley Imports or Fraley Motors. F-R-A-L-E-Y, I think, or F-R-A-Y-L-E-Y. Not sure. But if you go to Google and you go put in Dirt Cheap ATVs, Milan, Indiana, you'll find it. It's about 20 miles west of Lawrenceburg, and he is a wholesaler. And we picked that scooter up new in a crate for $500. Normally, his bigger 150s run for like $700, but that's still like half of the retail price. So at $700, it's kind of hard to go wrong, even if the thing ran for a year. I mean, yeah, it's a cheap Chinese scooter, but at $700, you know, compared to $4,000 for a Honda of equivalent size, you know, that's not a bad place to start if you think you like scooters. He also sells some dual sports. I've got a 200 dual sport that I bought from him back in '06, and it still runs okay. So I paid $900 for that, new in a crate, and it's got 5,000 or 6,000 miles on it. Didn't get that many miles the first 2 or 3 years I owned it because I was driving over the road. But I mean, last summer, I think I put, or maybe the summer before, I put 2,500 miles on it in one summer, and it was all highway. So, you know, it's been pretty decent. So check that guy out if you guys live anywhere, you know, within 50 or 75 miles, maybe even 100 miles of Cincinnati or of Lawrenceburg. Would certainly be worth the drive. He will ship. I think he charges a couple $100 to ship, and that's still cheaper than you're going to get retail. So the negative is he's a wholesaler, so he only offers 30-day warranty on the engine, internal rotating components, crank, rod, you know, that stuff. If you get it and there's a defective rim or a bent rim or something, like, you know, you're on your own. So that is the negative. They'll put it together for you for, I think, 25 or 50 bucks. So if you don't want to run the risk of getting it home and finding a defect, you know, you could pay to have them put it together right there in front of you. And if there was a defect, you'd see it, and I'm sure you could work something out with him at that point. But he's a nice guy. He's been in business a long time. He's built his business slowly. Actually has traveled to China several times. He's got a ton of parts back in the back. You know, anytime they get one that's broken, or, you know, like it falls off the container, or it's broken in the container, or the forklift drops it, they just take it back and they strip it down to the bare frame, take all the parts off of it, and they've got a huge parts thing back in the back. He had talked about getting that parts depot, that parts inventory online, because Chinese parts can be kind of hard to get. If you know where to get them, it's not a problem, but you know, for a lot of people, that's the reason they won't buy one, is they're afraid they can't get parts. And but he's a nice guy, you know. He built his business the old-fashioned way, you know. Started small with a little tiny small building, sold and sold and sold, and works all the time. His whole family works there, and slowly expanded the business. And he's got a nice-sized warehouse now, and his inventory rotates. I mean, in the summertime, he's got a lot of scooters and some motorcycles, and in the wintertime, fall and winter, he tends to get a lot of ATVs. You know, I actually wouldn't mind picking up a cheap ATV and taking it out to the property where my wife's property is, and, you know, chaining it up or something to secure it and cover it with a tarp. It'd be nice to have a little basic ATV out there at the property I mean, he's got ATVs for like $500 or less. He's got some little tiny ones for like $300, and quite frankly, to run around her property, it would be adequate. Even though I'm probably too big for it, you know, it would be an easy way to get around the property. But yeah, dirt cheap ATVs. You know, just a nice guy. But he's traveled to China, and it seems like what he's done is he sells the cheaper brands of scooters. You know, $700-800 at the most. So he's in the lower end stuff. There are some really good Chinese scooters. I know people think they're all junk, but that is not really true. There are some that are actually pretty good. It just depends on where they were made, because there's hundreds of factories, and the scooter you have that's a piece of crap may look exactly like the scooter I get from him, but it's not. They weren't made in the same place. Which makes it incredibly frustrating for people, because you never really know what you're going to get. What he has seemed to have done is gone to China, and he's found, you know, the best of the cheap stuff. You know, I don't know if you guys understand what I'm saying, but he's got the lower end price stuff, but it seems like the fit and finish, the quality of the components, the quality of the wiring, the battery that comes in it, that's a good indicator right there. Both machines that I've purchased from him, both my motorcycle and her scooter, came with a sealed, maintenance-free Yuasa battery, which is a good battery. It's not a cheap battery where you got to dump the fluid in it. Like, you go to Walmart and buy a motorcycle battery, that's a cheap battery. It's like $30. And you got to dump the liquid in it. And most of those, and they got the little caps that you got to put on, most of those I have found, they last a year or year and a half. They don't hold up. And I'm still running on their original maintenance-free battery in that 2006 dirt bike. Sat outside all winter, not this past winter, but the winter before. Sat out all winter. It could sit for 2 months, turn the key and it would start. It was pretty fucking amazing, actually. You know, for any motorcycle battery, quite frankly, let alone one that came from China. And, you know, the wiring seems to be good, the connectors are good, just little shit like that, which, when you get a bad one, you know, and the wiring is bad, things aren't hooked up right, that's extremely frustrating, and can be a problem long term, and I haven't had any real issues. I think electrically, the only thing I've ever done with my dirt bike is change a fucking headlight and a tail light. I put a LED tail light in it. So, you know, it's like he must go over there and like, buy the best of the cheap stuff, you know? And the only way you can do that is if you go over there and you actually talk to the factory that's building the goddamn thing. And he does that. So, and he's a country guy. He's just I don't want to say he's a country hick. He's not, but he is, you know? But he's smart. Very smart businessman, as a lot of country hicks are, quite frankly. People think farmers are stupid. Well, the general public feels that way. But, you know, you can't be stupid and be running a farm, or any business for that matter. So, he's done it the right way, slow and steady. And be nice to people. And he sells to dealers. I mean, he does a good volume, because dealers they'll come with a big pickup truck and a full-length trailer that you could put 3 cars on, and they'll drive off with, you know, 20 scooters in a crate and then sell them for retail. But he'll sell to the public. He got a notary, and he's got the paperwork. That's the thing. Most of these places you buy them from on the internet, you order the damn thing, and you won't get the certificate of origin for fucking 2 months. He has the certificate of origins at his location, which I think is really great, because you don't have any problem with paperwork. You got the MSO, they'll notarize it right there. You take it to your DMV, boom, you're done. They issue a title. So he's pretty cool. I would certainly buy another machine from him. I wish he would sell like a 250 scooter. I'd thought about getting one of those, but I think instead I'm going to just stick with my dual sport, and I'm going to be selling my Honda CX500, and I'm just going to start riding around on the 200 dual sport, and I'm buying a 1977 DT175 from my friend BJ. We agreed on a price, and it's a fair price, and so I'll have 2 little dual sports, and those will be my little toys, you know. Both of them get fantastic mileage. I get between 70 and 75 miles a gallon out of that dual sport, out of that 200 dual sport, and if you ride it carefully. If you thrash the hell out of it all day long, it's closer to in the mid-60s, but that's still not bad. So yeah, you can't miss him. If you know where Lawrenceburg, Indiana is, take 50, stay on 50, and go west, about 20 miles west of Lawrenceburg. He's on the right-hand side, which is the north side of 50, right underneath the big blue water tower. And he's got a sign out that says dirt cheap ATVs. He'll go to the next intersection, turn right, and then turn right into his driveway. And you really can't miss it. But that's where he is, 20 miles west of Lawrenceburg on US 50. And, you know, I'm sorry to be tooting my horn about him over and over again, but, you know, if you want cheap transportation, man, he doesn't carry a whole lot of dual sports anymore, though. He seems to do a lot of scooters, and being in Indiana, you know, that's why, because he can sell a lot of 50s and small scooters to people, you know, and ATVs, a lot of farmland. People like to get little ATVs for their kids, you know, and at $300 to $500, you know, you could afford to get your kid a little ATV. Your kid's gonna be like the best damn toy ever, you know. Plus, get your kid out of the damn house instead of screwing around with a damn video game, you know. Get your kid out there, out in the sunshine, and teach him how to ride an ATV, maybe ride a little motorcycle, and something you could do with your kid outside, you know. So, I really wish it was a prettier day. It was kind of a nice drive out here when it's nice out, but it's supposed to be rainy and crappy the next several days. It quit raining there for a while. I was hoping it would hold off, because when I get to Anderson's here, I'm going to have to freaking climb up on the back of the tank, and I'm not looking forward to that, because when it's wet, it's a little slippery. One thing he does not do a very good job of is he doesn't do a good job of keeping his website up to date. I mean, I know he's a busy guy, but, you know, he's got pretty decent looking website. You click on, you know, inventory, and he shows what he's got, except that's not what he's got. You get the same stuff on the, you know, that he had a year ago is listed, and the prices, and he's got a little video describing some of the different models and things, but he doesn't have those anymore. So I would say, I haven't ever said anything to him. It's not my place, it's his business, and I suspect 99.9% of his traffic comes from word of mouth and people that just know who he is. But, you know, what he really ought to do is just not have the inventory shown. Either find somebody that can keep up with the website so that it is accurate, or just don't have an inventory list. Just say, for inventory, give us a call. They answer the phone. You call them, it's Dirt Cheap ATVs, how can I help you? You know, what kind of scooters do you got? And they can tell you what they have, you know. So, I mean, I think rather than show what you don't have, you know, you'd be better off to not show anything and just say, call. The rest of it's really nice. He's got directions and, you know, things like that. But other than the fact that the inventory on his website is not up to date, you know, when you go in there any day, they're open Tuesday through Saturday, I think until 5:30. I think they open at 10, 9 or 10. They're open until 5:30. But they're not open on Sundays or Mondays, which is true of a lot of Indiana businesses. I don't really know why. A lot of places in Indiana are closed on Mondays, Sunday and Monday. So, I mean, I guess that's okay. You know, they work full business hours at least one day of the weekend, which is when you're probably going to go do something like that. So, you know, you go in there, I mean, you walk in, there's 20, 30 people walking around inside there sometimes looking at stuff. And it's, you know, he's got a good gig going. He deserves every penny he earns because, man, he busts his ass. He's there every day working on stuff, you know. I mean, guy works his ass off, and it's good to see. And he's providing a service. You know, a lot of people don't have a lot of money, and $600 or $700, you know, machine or ATV is all they can afford, and he provides that. Yeah, I know it's made in China, you know, American jobs, blah blah blah. But you know what? There aren't any fucking ATVs in that price range. You're not taking any American jobs because there aren't any Americans making scooters or ATVs. So you could say you're taking Japanese jobs, maybe, but not American jobs. You know, we don't build anything like that. You know, so. I mean, other than Harley's, I think the only other American-made motorcycle was a Goldwing, and it's not made here either anymore. So, you know. I just wish it would stop raining. We got 2 more days of this crap, according to the Weather Channel. God. I really hope the guy that loads me with this corn cob I'm getting on there. The last time I was there was this young kid. The last several times it's been this young kid. He does not know what the fuck he is doing. Well, I guess he's new, but he's been doing it long enough. He ought to have figured it out by now. He is constantly overfilling the damn tank. You know, he'll be like, can you jiggle the truck a little bit? I'm stuck in the hatch. And then as soon as you do that and he pulls it out, you get like 50 pounds or 100 pounds of corn cob pouring out the side of the top of the trailer there, and it makes a mess. And then it's going to get wet, and then it's slippery, and then I fall on my ass. So, but it's like every time. He doesn't stop the flow, like, soon enough or something. I don't know. Every time he overfills one pocket, like, totally. I may say something to him, actually. He's like, can you try to be careful and not overfill, because when I pull out, it's going to get wet, and then it's shit slippery. There's no safety line or no nothing. I'm going to be climbing up on that tank on my hands and knees. And, although I guess what I could, maybe I could close the hatches when I'm underneath the canopy. Don't usually do that because there's stuff over your head. Always makes me nervous that you'd hit yourself in the head on some of that stuff. Plus, then you block up their scale. Sometimes there's a line of trucks behind you or in front of you. Although this late in the day, probably not. I heard something, listening to the radio today, 700 WLW out of Cincinnati, and Daryl Parks did the morning show, and he was talking about, I don't know the Senate, it's a bill that's going to be, it is passed by both House and Senate at this point. It's going to be going to Obama, and Obama has said he is going to veto it. Unfortunately, in this case, it passed the House and the Senate by a 2/3 majority. So if that majority holds, they'll be able to override. And essentially, the bill kind of throws out your Fifth, Sixth, and 14th Amendment rights. The gist of it is kind of, let's say you're a political activist and you're, complaining about such and such, the government or something, and I don't know, maybe you make an offhand threat about something or other. It would get this bill, this law will give the government the authority to send the military, not the police, the military, like put a soldier in a Humvee, go to your house, take you into custody without charge, throw your ass in Guantanamo Bay without trial, and hold you until, the way it is phrased, because you're being considered an enemy combatant, I guess, a threat, and you can be detained until the end of the threat. The problem is none of that stuff is explained. What is the threat? What does end of threat mean? What consists of end of threat? What makes me be a threat? None of that stuff is explained, and it's you're beyond the civil authority at that point. The U.S. military was going to be the one coming to take you away, probably to never be seen again, and you have no recourse, no trial, no charges, and they can hold you as long as they want until someone determines that the threat is over, whatever the hell that means. And I'm sorry, I don't know the Senate bill. Like I said, Obama has said, and I mean, I'm not an Obama supporter. You guys probably know that, but I will admit that he's going to veto this, and I congratulate him for that, because it is a piece of legislation that is downright frightening. The thing that's shocking is the number of people that voted for this. Like I said, it passed by 2/3 majority, and John McCain voted for this. It blows my mind. The guy was a fucking political prisoner of war for multiple years, and he's going to vote for this. I mean, maybe there's another side to this bill, that makes more sense, but very frightening. You want to hold foreigners. Somebody comes from another country, and does something here, and you want to do that to them, okay, because they're not a U.S. citizen. But we're talking about U.S. citizens. To me, that is not acceptable. As a U.S. citizen, you have rights, and those rights are being supplanted by this new law. And Daryl Parks was talking about, when he was talking about this law, it reminded him of an incident that happened to him right after Katrina. He went to New Orleans with a group of people from 700 WLW as part of the relief effort, but it was a directed relief effort. What the goal was, they went to New Orleans to try to get the radio transmitters back online in the city, which is important, news, whatever. It's important to have communications. So he went there to help get their radio station online, and he went with who the hell? He said the guy that he went with, I can't remember his name. Another guy who works at 700 WLW. And when they got there, the thing that blew their mind, he's looking around, and of course there were police cars, everywhere and patrolling, but the police cars were New York City police cars. The NYPD was there as law enforcement. He said he never saw a New Orleans cop because they all ran, they all left. Military patrolling the city. And the thing that the incident that really got his attention was they were there, they were in the French Quarter, and he sees a military helicopter take off. And he looked at his friend that he was with, and he says, where the hell is that chopper coming from? You know, there's nothing over there. It's flooded. There's nothing there. There's nothing but the river over there, that direction. And they didn't know. He's like, I don't know. There's nothing over there. Where the hell? I mean, you know, it's a full-size military helicopter. He's like, where is that coming from? And when they left the city, they found out. As they went by, motherfucker. As they went by, they saw that there was an aircraft carrier parked on the Mississippi River. Think about that. Think about looking out of your house. I'm all for the military. Okay, I'm not anti-military by any stretch. Our soldiers they fight for us every day. But as a civilian, the thought of looking out your window and seeing an aircraft carrier parked has got to be frightening, you know, in a lot of ways. What he was talking about was the lawlessness, you know, that the disaster happened, and within 24 hours there was utter, complete breakdown of civilization in that city. The cops were gone. The firefighters were NYPD were New York City firefighters. Everybody left. The cops were gone. The fire department was gone. There was no law enforcement. There was no civil authority. The city completely went into complete, utter collapse and disarray within 24 hours. And he was linking this. He was linking this into this new law that will give military authority to come and just take you away. And he says, you know, in 2006 when the economy crashed, you know, we were pretty close to a complete economic meltdown. What if that had happened? What if it happened now? Or what if there was some other, you know, that it would suddenly, maybe the people that live in New Orleans would be considered a threat to the society. I mean, it opens the door. It opens a door that you don't want to open. Okay, we are a society that has civilian rule. Okay, military follows civilian rule, and any kind of law that supplants that, in my mind, is extremely dangerous. Because all you need to do is have the president say, "Oh, well, that guy over there who heckled me, I think he's a threat." Jail. I mean, it could go that way. I'm not saying that Obama would do that. I'm not saying that in the least. But I'm saying that you open the door for some future president, perhaps, to do something like that. And, you know, all you got to do is look at the fucking history books. You know, Adolf Hitler was elected. You know, he was not a dictator. Well, he became a dictator. He was elected into office. And then went kind of crazy and had brutal authority to do whatever the hell he wanted. And we could do that to ourselves. We could vote in some guy, say, you know, that acts like he's going to be strong and do this and that, and the guy becomes a dictator. The belief that, oh, well, that could never happen here in the United States, that is a total fucking crock of shit. It could happen. It could happen here. History will teach you that. You know? Nazi Germany was a German democratic, I believe it was German Democratic Republic. I could be wrong. Maybe it was Socialistic Republic. I can't remember. But they were a democracy, and they voted that guy in because they were in fear of something. Of course, that fear was created by the politicians. And under the threat of whatever, you know, they put this guy in there. And he killed millions and millions of people. Of his own people. And, you know, to sit back and think that something like that could not happen here is naive. I guarantee you, something like 9/11, you know, some terrorist comes in and blows up you know, a sports stadium or a mall kills 30, 50,000 people. You think that couldn't happen here? You think martial law could not be declared under threat of something like that? It could happen like that. And a significant and frightening number of people would be applauding it. Oh, please keep us safe from the big bad terrorists. And give away their rights. And once they're gone, you would never see them back. So it was frightening. I will try. I know I'm not good at this, but I will try to find out what bill it is that was passed. And it's frightening to me who voted for this damn thing. You know, John McCain? Really? You know? You think after spending a few years as a political prisoner in Vietnam that, you know, he would be a little more sensitive to the possible dangers. My guess would be he's looking at it rather naively, in the belief that, well, that could never happen in this country, and he's trying to keep America safe. That's probably why he voted for it, you know, that he's thinking this will help keep people safe. But God, man, you know, scary shit. Potentially scary shit. So, I'll try to annotate it. I don't know if I'll remember or not, but if I can find out what the bill was. And the guy on Daryl Parks, he said what it was, but I don't remember. I was not in a position to write it down. Bunch of these over here. Silos. That's where I'm going, is a place like that. They take corn cob, crush it up into a variety of products, and send it out. Everything from, you know, bedding for lab animals, you know, gerbils and whatever. They have the little pellets you can buy of, you know, that's all made out of corn cob. They even sell some that's irradiated for lab animals. When they're doing tests on lab animals, they have to make sure that there's no possible diseases in their bedding. It has to be completely sterile. And the way they do that is they irradiate it. It's funny, I saw that when I was in there. There was bags of it stacked up. It said irradiated corn cob bedding. Like, okay. This is all new. We used to drive on that side over there, and now we drive over on this new blacktop. And I guess eventually they're going to redo that side, and it'll probably be 2 lanes this way and 2 lanes that way. It's kind of funny though, because, you know, just until you get to that town we were just in, there's no way to make it. It's 2 lanes here, but so what? It's 1 lane back through that town, unless they're going to do a bypass around the town or something. Seems like kind of a waste to have this much asphalt. You know, it's like there's a bottleneck on both ends, because when you get into Delphi, it's you know, it's like this, it's 2 lanes. So I don't really understand how this will benefit anything. Like I said, unless their long-term plan, you know, maybe 10 years from now they'll have it all finished. I don't know. Which would be nice, because this would connect up US 31 and I-65. So, essentially. They made all this here. There was not a hill here. I mean, these bridges, they put all this shit in. We used to drive down there. So they're making pretty good progress, actually. We used to drive over there on that little road over there. So but I never really found that there was any kind of there's no stoplights or anything. So I don't, you know, again, I guess there's some long-term plan, I don't know, but I never really had to notice any traffic problems. So, but they're doing a lot of stuff, even farther west. So I guess maybe Maybe they're planning on connecting up various things. Down to a quarter of a tank of fuel. I'm going to have to stop for fuel on the way back. Should be able to get past Indianapolis, though. I'll stop at the Loves there. I think it's exit 122 or 120 or something like that. Another thing I heard today was that the post office by next spring is going to be closing a whole bunch of locations and cutting back. They're not cutting back on the number of days of delivery, but they're going to cut down the speed of the delivery. So you mail a letter, it may not be the next day or the day after. It could be 3 to 5 days for it to get someplace. And, you know, I'm sorry, but I think that's a really idiotic thing to do. They're going to close the Cincinnati Dalton Street Center. So when you put something in the mailbox, it's going to have to go to either Columbus or Indianapolis or Louisville, go through the sorting center there, and then come back or, you know, go wherever it's going to go. It's kind of stupid to me. And what they really need to do is rather than reduce service, they should increase price. I mean, you know, I've mentioned this before, but you know, a stamp is, what is it, 42 cents, and next year they'll raise it to 43 cents or 45 cents. You know, they keep doing this, you know, 39, 40, 41, 42. And every time they raise it by 1 cent, they piss people off, because you got stamps that you already bought, now you got to buy a 1 cent or a forever stamp and mix and match. And it's fucking stupid. What they need to do is just make the price of sending a letter $1. Make it a fucking $1, and then not change it for 5 years or 10 years. Make it $1. You know, if you really had to send a letter to somewhere, are you really going to get pissed off that it's $1 instead of 42 cents? I mean, really? And the problem is that the delay of service affects all the packages. You know, I put my bill at the end of the week. I put my bill of lading paperwork in a priority mail envelope. Well, I mail it at the Dalton Street or Florence Street or Florence. Now it's going to go from Florence to Louisville, probably Louisville to Indianapolis, Indianapolis to Fort Wayne. So you're slowing down service. Well, you know, if you went to McDonald's and the price stayed the same and the hamburger got shittier, the probability is you're going to go somewhere else. The you know, take that same example. You go to McDonald's and McDonald's says, look, the price of cheese is up, the price of this is up, we can't make any money, so we got to add 50 cents onto the price of your burger meal. But the quality stayed the same, and I'm not saying McDonald's has good quality. They don't. I'm just saying, most people, they get upset when there's a price increase. But I think they will get more upset when they get a less product and less service, even if it's for the same price. I think they're going about this completely the wrong way. Instead of reducing service, they need to figure out what it is that they need to charge to be profitable. The thing I send out in the mail, my bill of lading, the priority mail, is $4.95. Make it $7. Whatever it is you need to do to make yourself profitable. But making it take a week to get from one place to the other instead of 3 days on time critical paperwork, that is not the way to keep customers. You know, this is the problem with the post office. You got people up at the top that are mostly government employees, and they have no fucking idea how to run a real business. You know, and that's what'll happen is eventually they'll continue to. They're going to do what they're going to do. They're going to find suddenly, wow, 20% less people bothered to mail anything, and they're going to have to cut back more, and they'll be in a slow spiral downward to terrible service. And at the same time, somebody like FedEx or UPS will bring online some new service, you know. I don't know. It's really idiotic to me. Fucking make your stamp $1. Make it $1.50. Who knows? Whatever. You know? You got to send a letter to Aunt Mary, you know, 300 miles away in Nashville. Are you really going to complain about it being $1 or $1.50 instead of 42 cents? I mean, really? But they don't get it. They'd rather piss people off every other year with a 2-cent increase. It's just really stupid. Not to mention the price of having to reprint all the new stamps and advertise for the new stamp, all that shit. It's really stupid. Project out what kind of revenue you need to be profitable over the next 5 years. Make the stamp cover that. So the first year, you know, you're making a little bit more profit. The next year a little bit less, and in 5 years maybe change it again. Or make it 10 years, you know, I don't know. Maybe you make it $2. So for the foreseeable future you won't have to change it. Again, I don't understand, I don't know anybody that would care about spending $2 to mail something to someplace. Because we hardly ever do it anymore. If you need to mail it, you mail it. It costs you $2. It's the way it is. It's not going to stop anybody from using first-class mail. You know. The other thing I've heard mentioned was, you want to send a letter across to the other side of the town, it costs 42 cents. You want to send a letter to Fairbanks, Alaska, you know, 3,000 miles away, it costs 42 cents, and that's ridiculous. It should be prorated, but I don't know how you would logistically do that, because you've got to buy the stamp ahead of time. It would mean everyone has to go to the post office to get it weighed or stamped or whatever, and just make the stamp $1.50 or $2. See all this construct they're doing right here? I'm assuming it's going to be where the new roadway is going to be. But they tore up a bunch of crap down in here, and it's all like up and down. I mean, they're doing a lot of excavation. That was mostly flat, and they did a bunch of excavation down in there. You know, I don't know. Maybe that's where they're getting the dirt for the project back there. I don't really know. I'll be there in 5 minutes, and I'll show you the place, and then I'll turn the video. 40 miles an hour. Old jet skis for sale. Here's more roadbed coming out. It like went wide and then came out back again. It's really strange. Oh boy. I'll have to take this load and go back down to Cincinnati and blow the corn cob off. So, about a 3.5 hour drive from here back. Probably going to take them an hour and a half to load me. 3.5 hours back to Cincinnati. And then about an hour to unload down in Cincinnati. And this load doesn't pay shit. It pays like $50. So it's an hour drive from Rochester to here. It's an hour drive. And then it's 3.5 hours back to Cincinnati. And then an hour to unload, and it pays $50. Now, granted, it's basically oh, that's nice. Basically, it's an extra half hour, because from Rochester back to Cincinnati is about 3.5 hours. So, I'm sorry, it's an extra It's an extra hour. So it's an hour of driving, an hour of unloading, and about an hour and a half of loading for $50. And climbing on top of the tank twice. It's not really worth it. But, you know, it's an extra $50, so I think it'd be a lot better if they'd make it like 75 to 100. It'd put it a little closer to what it should be. Because it's kind of a risky. I mean, you're climbing up on top of them tanks, man. You know, you got no safety line. You fall, break your leg, break your neck, break your back. You know, I don't know. That's Anderson's up there in the distance. I know you can't see that. This wide-angle lens doesn't really do very well there. I'd really like to get a GoPro HD, but, you know, I got other stuff I got to worry about. I know that these videos would look so much better in high def, but the video quality, compared to other people that are out there doing videos, video quality is not that great. I'd like to do better, but I can't justify spending $300 just so videos look better. My digital camera is a little better quality, not much, it's a little bit better, but it's not wide-angle lens, and it actually doesn't really make the experience any better. Something in my door over here is like rattling. Like two pieces of plastic squeaking together. It's freaking annoying. It is. Hopefully this thing is still recording and I'm not just talking to myself. Oh great, there's a train. Oh, it's short. It's already passed. Put on my signal early because it's kind of a Y shape here. It's in the shape of a Y. It's a real sharp angle up here, so you gotta, nobody behind me, but you still, you really can't see, like that guy's just suddenly coming right now, and you really pretty much have to come to a complete stop because you can't really, and of course he's gonna be fucking turning, jackass. If he'd have put his signal on way the hell up there, I would have known. And yeah, that's a little pet peeve of mine. Put on your turn signal. And don't put on your turn signal 2 feet before you're going to turn. Tell people where you're going to go. That's Anderson's right there. I don't see another truck in the bay, so hopefully I can get right in. Got a couple of guys in the dock, at least one guy, one or two guys in the dock though, so sometimes they have to load them first, especially if it's like the FedEx or UPS or right in there is the scale, and that hopper up there is how they load us. Alright guys, I gotta go. See ya.